And you're live.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting, March 25th, 2025 meeting of the County Facilities Committee. To begin with the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Make the motion. Supervisor Stroud on the motion, second by Supervisor Etu. Any discussion, any comments, questions, changes, additions, deletions? Any? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Privilege of the floor, public comment of it. Any people, anybody who wishes to comment either online or in person? If not, we'll move on to the action agenda, the new business items. And for Ajos, Superintendent of Public Works, we'll take that.
Okay, the first one we have is a request to award a new contract. This contract is the generator preventive maintenance that we do every year. Actually, it's not every year. It's if we extend, it becomes a 1-year contract with the possible extension of 2 more years. So this is with Guerin Generator Services. Just maintenance on the generators throughout the county.
Good. A motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Stroud. Second, Supervisor E2. Any discussion, questions? Yes.
Yeah, Kevin, they were low bid,
Correct.
an hourly amount. I didn't see any amounts here.
Oh, geez, I don't even have the tab sheet in here, do I?
Or is the job amount?
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I'll provide that. I honestly thought it was attached to this, but apparently it's not. But this is for generator maintenance. They were the low bid. This is for generator maintenance that we have generators here at the county center at every facility that we have.
Yeah.
And these guys would do the maintain. Typically, it's once a year or twice a year that they come, run the generators, make sure that everything's operating correctly. And then that's the part of the service. So I will, when I leave here today, I will make sure that I send to this committee what the tab sheet is.
Okay, well, they were still low bid.
They were
so
low bid, yeah.
regardless of what it was.
Correct.
Just
Yep.
would have been interesting, I think.
Yep.
Right.
Anyone else? If not, we'll call a question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The next item we have on there is a new contract, and this is for the lease agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension. As you all know, that is our building, our facility up there, and they lease it from us, and the amount has not changed. It's $32,000, and it's paid quarterly by Cornell at $8,000 per quarter.
It's the term.
The term is for 1 year.
Excuse me. Okay, could we have a motion to bring this to the floor? Supervisor Drossy, second by Supervisor Thomas.
Yeah, I want to interject, and Larry, thanks for asking the question. It would start 1/1/2025, but we have it down for an annual renewal if that's possible to do. The only way that would ever change is that we would increase the lease agreement with Cornell. So I'd like to just do this on an annual renewal.
Well, it's the same terms.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
I don't have a legal issue with that.
No problem.
So this motion will be for this year and
And an annual renewal from here on out unless we change the terms of the agreement.
It's fine.
okay.
Mhm.
Anything else? Anyone else? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. Thank you very much. And moving on down, discussion items. I'll let Scott take that.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers.
Work order request program currently at 4,523. Fleet car request program is at 6,031. Then I'll skip down to 5 and 6, and then Kevin will come back up for 3 and 4. Soil and water, second floor. What we're doing up there currently is making a nice office space up there for the person that they have coming in. That's a grant funded person, redoing the carpet, redoing the walls, making it actually very cohesive for anybody that wants to move in up there, plus adding in new stairs and everything, making it safe and up to code. Right now, they should be done with that by the end of this week, with they're doing the final coating of painting and everything. But making it change over for soil and water, making it very nice up there.
I'll add to that. That building was 2000. Let's say it was 2009, 2010 when that facility was built, but they never finished the upstairs of that facility. And now that they do have some grant funding to fund this position, they wanted to finish the upstairs, so Buildings and Grounds is assisting them with that.
I've had two guys up there for the last 2.5 weeks, changing it all over.
Should be complete the end of this week.
Yep. Doing the final coat of paint this week.
Thank you.
And then number 6, public health. They did phase 1 is done and complete over there. They had it all new carpeted, new flooring, new carpets, new paint all the way through. They've got all new desks and everything. Phase 1 is done and complete. We're gonna start actually phase 2 at the beginning of next week, which again is the same thing, new paint, new furniture, new flooring and everything through there. It's a funding that they have. And it's just basically redoing all of public health. It'll be in a 3-phase stage, and change it over for them. If you want to stop in, I'm sure they'll be glad to show you what phase 1 looks like. It looks completely different from anything that you guys are used to seeing over there. It looks very nice.
So I'll add on to that. During our investigation, like we do anywhere in the county, we check for asbestos within the facility. The public health has a extended wall away from the existing windows that were built with facility, and those windows have within the butyl of the window, there is asbestos. So I reached out to Janelle last week to ask her if she had any grant funding left so that they could cover the cost of the asbestos before we remove those. Otherwise, those windows would stay and they wouldn't be removed. So we're working with her on that right now.
And last thing I'll add before Kevin goes back to 3 and 4 is, as most of you know, if you didn't already, Lee Molinari retired on January 9th. And since then, it was been a search to replace her. Not that you replace a person after 29 years plus in the county, but we have hired Audrey Mahoney, who started 2 weeks ago and has hit the ground running and has been a great asset added already to the department. So if any of you want to see her, she's over in what used to be Lee's old office. Her name's Audrey Mahoney, and she's done great work ever since we started it. Just to give you the update on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm gonna take over before I give it to John for the regional morgue. Boardroom update. As of last week, we were free and clear of asbestos. They did their last of the air monitoring, so the guys are back doing the construction work. We're still looking at end of April, early May. So we'll have one more board meeting in here, and then we're hoping that the May board meeting, you'll be back into the brand new boardroom
In May.
in May.
Okay.
And
Okay, regarding the regional morgue, county administrator will give us an update on that.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. We've been talking about the regional morgue for about 2 years now. We've had discussions with the county. Excuse me, we talked about having some type of regional authority that would help us fund both the capital cost and the operating cost. When I was at NISAC a few weeks ago, I spoke with Dan McCoy, county exec at Albany County, and Albany County has come forward and said they intend to build a regional morgue. Albany County apparently has been told by Albany Med down there that they cannot use their morgue beginning, I believe, in 2026. And I should say, I appreciate Dr. Sikorica and our coroners attending today to the committee meeting. So we provided our design and our feasibility study that Kevin and Ed Downey worked so great. They've done a phenomenal job with so far. And they started looking at that. I had a follow-on session with the CEO of the Glens Falls Hospital. We just renewed our annual lease to use their morgue. They have a contract with 7 other counties to use their morgue, and they have no intention of not letting us use that morgue in the future. So even though they're owned by Albany Med, they're not following suit with what Albany Med has apparently told Albany. So I had sessions also with NISAC, excuse me, sessions with NISAC and also meetings with Albany County. And we, through the course of those meetings over the past month, I believe we've come to the conclusion that NISAC has said they will go forward in September and push the governor to support a regional morgue in the Capital District with funding. And they said they'll be very aggressive on this. They want to wait until the legislative session is over. So the timing for this would be September for funding in 2026 and on. So I think we've come to the conclusion collectively that the best move for us in the Capital District is to support Albany County's efforts to build a regional morgue. Saratoga County has already announced that they will support it. I had a meeting with the county administrators of Saratoga and Washington. Washington County also believes this is something they would support. So I think it would be in our best interest to join this effort with Albany County and help influence where the morgue would be potentially located, hopefully along the Northway. And the chances of us having a separate effort here to create a regional morgue and get share in money with from the state, probably Albany County would have a greater chance getting that funding than we would, we believe. So I think my recommendation at this point is not that we cancel the project, that we basically put our effort on hold and enter into discussions with Albany County to see how much farther we can advance this effort. It would be a drive for our county, about an hour, but without a regional morgue up here, we're faced with longer drives anyway. And so it seems to make a lot more sense from a business perspective that we don't invest money in something here, not knowing the outcome ultimately and not knowing if we'll get funding for it. And we can work with Albany County. So that's my recommendation. At
Thank
this
you,
point.
appreciate that. Any comments from the committee?
Just a question for the administrator. So did previously any of these other counties, Saratoga, Washington, give an indication that they were supporting Warren County's efforts and now they're switching to Albany County?
Well, everyone, thanks for the question. Everyone in the inter-county group had initially said they would support our efforts. Everyone in our inter-county group of the Adirondacks is facing challenges with forensic conducting autopsies, things like that. So we have not come up with a way, we haven't really put a price tag on it and said, this is how much we'd need a commitment. And so we plan to do that this year, but we have not asked them officially to, formalize any support.
Right, they said that they would support us, but
What do they mean?
we had nothing signed, nothing concrete, so to speak, so. Supervisor Stroh.
Well, I mean, if Albany County is going to establish a regional morgue, and I'm just assuming they're going to be, Greene County, Columbia County, Herkimer County, Fulton County, Clinton County. I mean, this is going to have to be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, are they biting off more than they can chew?
Good question.
The design we had was actually huge.
Yeah.
It was designed to handle a mass casualty operation. It was designed for a staff of about, I think, 5 to include 1 to 2.
Yeah,
Forensic
the
pathologists.
original design was for a staff of, I think it was 12 or 13. We reduced that saying, okay, in the beginning, we would only need this amount until we started to take on more and then we would add capacity or add individuals to that facility. But we built it in mind, thinking that we would be adding more to it anyways.
But the Albany location is far better than where we had previously been dealing with, where did we go? Down in New York City here.
Not us. We have not been going to New York City for any. No, the other individuals that were on board with us, the other 6 counties, us being the 7th county. They were taking theirs to Utica or Dutchess County but we weren't.
Okay. Supervisor E2.
I just wondered, just as we have other senior staff, our treasurer, county planner talk in the middle of a committee meeting, I didn't know if we could allow our coroners, being the subject matter experts, to talk outside of privilege of the floor, if they had anything to say. But we're not voting on anything either, so it could just be privilege of the floor. But I
we'll wait
would
for
be
them.
interested to hear what they.
We'll get through the other stuff.
Yep, okay.
Anyone else, committee?
Just one question. Obviously, we spent, I don't know what the total is, but significant amount, I would think, over the last couple of years. If we're gonna join with, I know this is very early, John, but if we're gonna join, could there be some consideration for those plans that we already paid for? And obviously we'll provide some assistance to Albany County. You know, there's gotta be some contribution per county, right? So I'm just asking if that's something that can be kept in mind.
We could consider that in our discussions with Albany County. Like I said, we provided them our feasibility study and our design. But given what I know, and I'll look to Kevin for this, I assume that regardless, Albany County is going to have to invest in a design of their own. And so asking them to pay for our design and then their additional design that they'll have to do.
Well, I wouldn't be asking them to pay for our design, but there's gotta be some contribution per
consideration.
county. Right, per service, so I'm just asking.
I agree with you. When negotiations start, or whatever, as to what counties are contributing what, that should come up. As you said, we're not looking for them to pay for the complete design,
Right.
but some consideration should be given to our efforts to date. And especially, you know, if we, I guess we've already turned that design over to them.
Let me back up a little bit. We've given them the feasibility study for them to look at what we had a feasibility. The feasibility study was for us, for our area, for our 7 counties, not for what they're doing. They're just looking at that from the aspect of what we here at Warren County did. The building itself was, again, I'll go back to how we designed it, but it was still conceptual design. I mean, they would have to go through a full-blown design for whatever facility that they were going to build. So the feasibility study, they're gonna have to do that themselves as well. Because the bottom line is I don't know who they're including. I don't know what they want to do. We talked about, you know, the possibility of harvesting tissue and things in the future. We don't know what they're doing. We just kind of gave them the concept that this is what we were looking at for the facility that we were going to use. So with that being said, I mean, should they compensate us for something? I don't know.
Well, we'll get to that, like I said, when we get into negotiating with them.
Sure.
And regardless of what they're building, what we gave them has information in there
Correct.
that is valuable. So when we get to that point, we should bring it up and take
Thank
it.
you.
Anyone else? So we'll gotta leave that open for now. And see what transpires with respect to Albany County. And then we'll later on.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's good that we have an existing place to go, so to speak. For at least some period of time. And I think the idea of participating in some type of consortium with the other affected counties, I think makes all kinds of sense to me at this stage. But like most things, as you're pointing out, you know, the devil's in the details always. So I think that the concept, I think, was a concept that we were advancing or trying to advance. And I suppose, you know, the facility should be where it makes most sense to be. And let's not forget too, it's not only the capital cost of the facility, it's the annual operating cost that's associated with this thing, which is very significant. So I think that, you know, our advisors, our coroners and our county administrator but I think the fact that NISAC is engaged, I think, and will assist in hopefully getting the state of New York to engage, I think is a positive development.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so we'll leave that on the docket, okay, so. Referrals and pending items, design updates to the front entrance.
Yeah, we put a scope to work together, as I said before, just to start with the steps out front. Beyond that, we haven't gone any further than that. We will give it to some of our term agreement consultants to kind of just design something for us. As I talked about before, those stones are not. There's nothing wrong with the stone steps themselves. They're just not in the best of shape as far as the seams. The caulking that's been on them over the past several years has worn away. Probably part of that was when we did the court work. But it's not something that I expect my staff to be able to handle. I would have a contractor come in and do that stone work. So once we finalize the scope and a quick design, we'll put that out to bid. And again, as I said before, we have about $200,000 left over from the courts. And that money will go as far as we can on the front entrance of some of the work that we're gonna be doing there. I think after the steps, the next thing that Scott and I have concern with is the drainage out front in the ring road. We think especially after this past winter, that seemed to be the next priority on that list. And the final thing that we have on there under referral and pending items is the magnetometer, DMV, and we're still waiting on the sheriff, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Any idea when that will?
It's all dependent upon that grant for which they're waiting for. They have to put their paperwork in. It should be approved, I would say, by the end of this month, but I'll verify with Terry.
Okay, yep, thank you. Yep. That it?
That's it.
Okay, privilege of the floor, public comment. Step right up to the podium.
I'm Connie Getter, for those of you that don't know me. I am a Warren County coroner. I spoke with you, a lot of you, many times. Just a couple points of interest on this Albany thing that's going on. This past weekend, we had the NISAC conference in Lake George for the first time. We had about 150 people, and it was, he says the number's bigger.
NISAC.
Oh, NISAC meeting. And it's a coroners and medical examiners conference. We had the luxury of having Darren Dake speak there. He speaks all over the country. He's on the internet giving classes. He just recently opened up a forensics unit out in Missouri. And we look at Missouri and then we look at us, and even we're not quite as rural as they are. And he did that for less than $2 million. What they did differently was they didn't build a building. They rehabbed a bought building. The county bought it, and rehabbed it, and it costs a lot less than the dollars that we're seeing for a new building. Albany Med's that's a wonderful idea. But Albany Med is going to be so busy with just who they're gonna have from their southern counties and everything. Everything's going to be delayed more than it is now. Also, we pay our funeral homes $725 to remove a body from South Street to Glens Falls Hospital. And now we're gonna send them to Albany, an hour down, an hour back, to accompany the funeral business. They don't have enough people now. We have to think of more of what's gonna happen in the future. We have to have this. It's going to work. And the surrounding counties will use it because they're not gonna tie their people up to go to Albany for 3 hours out of their day. They don't have it. And we can do this for less. We have to take on a different concept of it, of purchasing an already built building and rehabbing it to what we need. Glens Falls Hospital, we've used for years. If you get a situation going on in there, you can't even fit the people in the morgue along with the body. We have to think about who's going to do it. You only have so many of these people of Doxycaricus. If we have one, we definitely need to get another one because we're all aging out. It's attractive to live here over attractive to live in Albany, to raise a family here, to raise a family down there. We're much more attractive. And we're building for the future. We're not building for Albany County and to take that down there. We're building for here in Washington County, in the northern counties, Saratoga County, because they're going to go where it's the easiest place to go, no matter what it is, and the cheapest. Look what the coroner's budgets are growing to now. Just in transports and the amount of deaths and the amount of drug overdoses that we're doing. This is all a huge expense. So if you're figure up take 1,000 deaths and multiply it times 725. And now you're going to have to double that to go to Saratoga or to Albany because they're not going to be able to do it. I asked a private transporter what he would cost us to take a body from here to Albany, and he would charge $1,400 a transport and a night stay overnight. These are all things that have to come to light. This conversation has to get more into the future. It has to happen. And it has to become a project and working on it. We don't have that much time because we have to offer this ability of doing these things. And we're the place to do it. Albany is. There's room for two, and this will make money, that will make money, if that's what it's about. But we still, by law, have to have autopsies available to our deceased. Our storage units are small. We know that. That would be something that we do have to have there. We need offices. We need offices just for ourselves. My closet at home is filled with coroner's reports of locked in file cabinets. That's not where they should be. And once again, I reiterate that Albany will have plenty of work to do, and we will become the backside of that. And it will be a bigger expense, not only for putting into it and paying our share, but just getting our people there. So there's other things to think about and a cheaper way of doing this. So we'd like to just bring that to light, and we're available to talk to. We all have ideas, but we really were pleased with this, with Darren, and we can give you contact with him. And he's done it, and he's done it many times. And we were like, he was in awe when I picked him up at the airport. So we talked all the way back from the airport. And when I told him what our figures were looking like, he was like, I could do 10. 15 of these units. So that's when he did give me his floor plan. And I can share that with you. I didn't bring it with me today, but there is a better way to do this and to still keep it in Warren County. And we really seriously encourage you to do that. Any questions?
I have a question. So we heard before that Glens Falls Hospital has agreed to let us use their morgue. I'm not sure, is it really a morgue that they have, or what's the storage capacity out there? There's
Well, for a long time, it was 3, well, it's only 3, and Ethan Allen. Their capacity was 3 deaths in there. We had 19. And I wouldn't really want to share how we took care of the rest of them because I wouldn't want my loved one done.
So that's really not a solution.
It's a solution for 1 at a time or 2 at a time. We can't even set up for the second autopsy before the first one's done because there's not enough room. It's not as big as from where Doc's sitting to this back wall.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Stroud.
Connie, is there? You know, we have the routine autopsy.
Mhm.
And then we have cases that require some forensic investigation.
Yes.
Could there perhaps, and do we have a lot of those that require the forensic investigations?
By law, certain things require forensic
Yeah,
investigation.
but numbers.
Probably Doc can give you that better than I can.
Because I'm wondering if perhaps we could create a hybrid situation here in Warren County where we provide you offices and we have standard autopsies, but the forensics perhaps could be brought to Albany. I'm just wondering if a hybrid situation could perhaps be a viable solution.
I couldn't answer that question because you need a special degree to do forensic.
Yeah,
And that person would have to be available. And I believe there's only 500 of them in the country.
well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Albany would have a much better chance of having somebody like that on hand, where we would bring those specialty cases to them, but perhaps have a facility here doing routine autopsy.
Yeah, well, we have Doc to do that right now, that he does forensic and he does routine. And so that's, we already have that. So I don't know what the answer to that would be.
If I could take the podium, I'd like to address that. Very nice. Thank you.
Here.
Yes, can everybody hear me? Yes, I'm Dr. Sikorica. I was at this meeting, I think 2 years ago, and I appreciate being called back. I want to explain to you a little bit about what's going on in Albany. We'll start with the topic of Albany. I broached this whole topic with Albany in 2020. Because at one time Albany Met had actually given us 30 days to leave their premises to do any forensic work at all. So there are a fickle bunch. Let me tell you, Saratoga is probably the strongest against them, but I don't know if there would be any guarantee that they would continue to provide the facility in the future. So I went through this to the point that I had an architect down in Albany to come to the morgue and look at our facility at the Med. I talked with the state police on this case. They have and I actually went to talk to the Major of Troop G. And he was very interested in looking at that proposal because they had 44 acres at the Troop G division headquarters down there off Route 7. Next to the airport, perfect location, if anything was to happen. I went back to Albany and said, well, I went back to Mike Lawley in Albany, and he was my contact person. I also met with financial people in Albany County, And I said, Mike, you know, the state police are very interested, but they really have to have some sort of simple architectural planning so they could see if it would fit in their location. Well, at that time, the Albany coroners had decided, well, let's just avoid this by shipping everybody from Albany to Schenectady. So you die at Albany Med, you go to Schenectady for an autopsy. Doesn't matter if you die from a gunshot wound or if you're in the hospital for a week after a car crash. You're going to be packed up and go to Schenectady, where there is not a forensic pathologist to do your case. Now, the question of how do you define a routine case from a forensic case? You don't know what is a forensic case until you get into it. So there are no routine cases. The National Association of Medical Examiners recommends that any case that dies out of a hospital and selected cases that do die in the hospital even fall under the jurisdiction of a board-certified forensic pathologist. So Albany does have the capacity, as the supervisor said, to generate enough volume for themselves to maintain a facility. That would be Schoharie County, Montgomery County, Rensselaer County, Schenectady County, Albany County, of course, and even perhaps Montgomery County. And that would require a lot of personnel. That would require a big facility and a big outlay of money to build this facility. Now, that's possible, and I've always thought that it was possible to have two facilities, one to serve the North Country and one to serve the Capital District. Now, they out of the blue seem to come out of the woodwork and decide that they want a medical examiner system, but they don't even understand what that entails. They think they're going to place a medical examiner at the morgue in Albany Med. Well, that was their initial thought, and that's not going to work either, especially if Albany Med decides that they don't want any more forensic cases, which they had already done in the past. So I would not trust Albany Med further than I could kick it, personally. The need here is to come up with a facility to serve the North Country. And Warren County has to be the key behind all of this. There is not enough work for one county to build and maintain a facility. My idea and the coroner's ideas are a fee for service. So we come up with a fee for each county, which probably between $4,000 and $5,000 a case. And that would go into the maintenance and the operation of the morgue, okay, once it was built. There is also the possibility of funding once you have a morgue built. There's not much of a chance to get much money when you have a disjointed bunch of corners. You build a facility, you have a better chance of getting grant money, much better chance. Years ago, the state of New York actually financed 35% of the operation of medical examiner systems. Now that should be fought for again. That would really alleviate a lot of the misery with this project. The idea also that the plans that were submitted, as Mr. Hajo said, were a very generalized conceptual plan. The plans they showed us were nothing. They were simply grabbed off the internet from Denver, Colorado. And there was nothing done. I never sat down with the architect and said, here's what we need. We don't need to go beyond this. Maybe we can build a little bit cheaper, a little bit smaller, and with room for expansion. But I think the idea is to build it across the road, very, very convenient location, very perfect location in terms of security. And there are difficulties. I know Kevin mentioned the sewer line and water lines and such, but I think it could be built much cheaper than that $27, now $30 million that they've been talking about, especially after seeing another project in the Midwest that was built for 14. So I think we really should reevaluate. There should be a way that I should sit down with the architect and say, this is what we need. Give me a price on this. Don't show me a morgue that came from Denver that was actually a refurbished other building and tell me that that's going to work here. Because when I saw the plans originally, I said, what is this? How can you make a judgment of what this costs when you're showing me something you could have pulled off the internet. And one of my corners actually visited that morgue. And she said it was converted building. It wasn't even built from scratch. So I don't know where the crazy prices are coming from. I understand we have prevailing wage. I understand there's a great deal of a difference between Missouri and us. But I think there are issues that could be looked at carefully with the architect and somebody that would talk to them, Kevin and myself perhaps. The other issue, we have no mass disaster capacity up here. If there is a mass disaster, there is no capacity here to do anything. If there's a traumatic event, say George Floyd again, if that happened at Glens Falls Hospital, I guarantee you, we wouldn't be back there. They would cut us off as quick as they could. So mass fatality has to be considered, and the place has to be built big enough to at least pull in a refrigerator truck. It has to have a sally port where bodies can be transferred, and it has to be accessible by the funeral homes. They can come with a proper electronic identification. We'd have everything on video. They can drop off a body in the middle of the night. They never have access to any part of the room, other facility. So I believe there's a lot to be gained by that. Another feature that could be gained is the idea that we'd be able to share some information between the different counties. We're all in the same cesspool in terms of drugs and such. But we don't know what Washington is doing. Warren doesn't know what Washington doesn't know what Essex is doing. So that is another part of it, I think, is critical in today's world, to have some sort of universal case management system that could be shared across the counties. I am a forensic pathologist. I trained in that. I also trained in neuropathology. I have passed all the boards, and I luckily found a lady that was very interested in coming to the area that could replace me. She's done in New York City. She's a wonderful woman. So I think we've already had some interest in providing some backup for myself and eventually a replacement. But she would be much easier and much more inclined to come if there was a facility. Yes, sir.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we've got another meeting, and
Sure.
this is great. Excellent. We really appreciate your input. What I propose is we're still gonna wait, take a look at Albany, but we will get together and you will be included, and Ms. Gettert and whoever else, we'll include coroner's pathologists. Agree with this? And we'll get together and revisit our needs, proposal, whatever you want to call it. And that's where this discussion should take place. And anyway, we've got another meeting.
Could I just add one quick second? In terms of the other counties, no effort was ever really made to pin these counties down. No grand meeting of county executives was ever held to say what the plans are. And I don't know why that never occurred.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's partially correct. So we have had discussions at the inter-county meetings. We've had individual discussions with Saratoga, Washington, Fulton County administrators. We're at the point now, I believe, and as the doctor mentioned, he needs to sit down with an architect. Anything going forward requires a financial commitment by the board. Okay, if we're going to hire an architectural firm to design a structure, we're at the point, do we want to continue funding this effort, or do we wait and see what Albany, that's my only question, or do we wait and see what Albany is going to come up with?
Thank you.
So we really value your excellent input, and I'd like to continue this discussion. But again, we'll take a look at what Albany does, and then we'll get together, take another look at this, take it from there. Anyone else?
I just want to add real quick, you all have the bid tabs now for the generator. So,
Thank you.
Okay, so again, thank you, and we'll be in touch.
I will be you. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Supervisor Etu, Supervisor Stroud, the second, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.